The hero has finally confronted you, the villain, for killing their parents all those years ago. You try to act like you know, but you really don't recall who they or their parents are. Those were my parents in that house. The kid's hand shook as he pointed the gun at my chest. You burned them alive while I watched from the closet. I kept my expression neutral, years of practice making it easy to hide my confusion. The warehouse's flickering fluorescence cast harsh shadows across his face, young, maybe early 20s, with a scar running down his left cheek. Something about that scar tugged at my memory, but I couldn't place it. And now what? I asked, keeping my voice level. You've tracked me down after all these years for revenge? Don't act like you don't remember. He took a step closer, finger tightening on the trigger. December 15, 2008, the Dixon house on Maple Street. I burned down a lot of houses in my time, too many to count, really. It was my specialty, make it look like an electrical fire, collect the insurance money, split it with whoever hired me. Sometimes people died, usually they weren't supposed to. The Dixons, I said slowly, buying time while I tried to recall that particular job. Right. You're lying, he spat. I can see it in your eyes, you don't even remember them. He wasn't wrong. I racked my brain, but 2008 was a blur of jobs, one fire blending into another. I remembered a few, the ones that went wrong, the ones where I had to improvise. But a routine house fire? Those all looked the same after a while. Kid, you want the truth? I spread my hands. I've burned down hundreds of houses, killed dozens of people. Your parents were probably just another job to me. The gun wavered. Just another job? They were good people. My father was a teacher. My mother volunteered at the shelter. They never hurt anyone. That's not how it works, I said. Someone wanted them dead. Someone paid me to make it happen. The kind of people who hire me, they don't target saints. You're wrong. His voice cracked. I found the insurance papers. It was all about money. $20,000, that's what their lives were worth to you. Now that did spark something. A job that cheap wasn't my usual rate, even back then. I must have been desperate. Or, the memory hit me like a punch to the gut. December 2008, I was going through withdrawal. Needed quick cash for another fix. Took whatever work I could get. Didn't ask questions. Didn't case the houses properly. Didn't check for kids. The closet, I said slowly. Second floor, master bedroom. I heard something when I was setting the accelerant, but I was too strung out to investigate. That was you? I was 7. His hand steadied on the gun. I watched through the slats while you poured gasoline everywhere. I saw your face when you lit the match. You smiled. I probably did. Back then, the flames were the only thing that made me feel alive. Baxterson. Kid, my name is Marcus. He shouted. Marcus Dixon. Remember it? Marcus. I nodded. You're right. I killed your parents. It was sloppy, unprofessional, and you have every right to want revenge. But before you pull that trigger, ask yourself, what would killing me actually change? It would be justice. Would it? Your parents are still dead. That pain you've been carrying for 15 years, it's not going away just because I do. I took a careful step forward. You've spent your whole life building up to this moment. What happens after? Shut up. He jabbed the gun toward my chest. You don't get to lecture me about pain. No, I don't. Another step, but I know something about revenge, about letting hate consume you until there's nothing else left. Look at me, Marcus, really look. Is this what you want to become? His eyes flickered across my face, the deep lines, the dead eyes, the permanent tension in my jaw. I saw the moment of doubt cross his features. You're trying to manipulate me, he said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. Probably, I admitted, old habits, but I'm also telling you the truth. Your parents wouldn't want this for you. Don't talk about them. The gun came up again. You have no right. You're right, I don't. I was close enough now that the barrel pressed against my sternum. So shoot me, end it, but know that pulling that trigger makes you just like me, someone who takes lives for their own reasons and has to live with it forever. For a long moment, the only sound was our breathing and the buzz of the fluorescent lights. I watched the war play out behind his eyes, revenge versus redemption, hate versus hope. I'd seen it before in others I'd wronged, but never quite like this. Finally, Marcus lowered the gun. I'm not like you, he said quietly. I never will be. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Good. He turned to leave, then paused. I'm going to the police, telling them everything I know about you, every detail I've gathered over the years. I figured you might. I shrugged. Do what you have to do. He walked away without another word, footsteps echoing through the empty warehouse. I waited until I couldn't hear them anymore before sagging against a nearby pillar, suddenly exhausted. The kid would go to the police. They'd investigate, but they wouldn't find much. I'd been careful these past 15 years, learned from my mistakes. No more sloppy jobs, no more civilian casualties. The evidence from the Dixon fire was long gone. Still, it was probably time to move on. Find a new city, new clients, new hunting grounds. Start fresh, like I had so many times before. But as I pushed off from the pillar and headed for the exit, I couldn't shake the image of that 7-year-old boy in the closet, watching as I destroyed his world. One more ghost to add to my collection. One more weight to carry. Maybe Marcus was right, maybe I should remember their names. All of them. Maybe that was the real punishment, not a bullet or a prison cell, but having to live with the memories of every life I'd ruined. I stepped out into the night air, letting the cold shock my lungs. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Time to disappear again. But this time, I took something with me, the name Marcus Dixon, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest revenge is choosing not to take it at all.